I'm gonna cut the mic though so they can't hear anything.
Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
I think we got three.
Pretty good one. It's like gonna be a bouquet of flowers.
Would it be easier to have the loft on you, the like
Well,
one that clips on?
the only thing we talked about is just, it might be easier, but we're just gonna have to switch off. I don't know how easy that's gonna be to unclip and go.
Will it be too hard to hold three?
I don't know.
Well,
Is it gonna look weird?
if you hold them down low, it might not. We could cut it
They all turned on? We need a podium with the microphones. Jumbled, man. Yeah. It's all right. I know. It's like my wedding day. Everybody ready? All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brad Davis, Assistant Chief at the Missoula Fire Department. I want to thank everybody for coming out here this afternoon. We're taking this opportunity just to talk about the avalanche dangers that exist on Jumbo. We are going to continue to monitor those. We've brought along Travis Kraft with the Avalanche Center to answer any questions and to give you guys a more technical. Everybody respect the closures of Jumbo at this. And at the base of that mountain, if we could ask you guys to stay away from the base of the mountain and stay out of the backyards, just in case there is any type of snow or avalanche event that was to occur over there. I would like to reiterate that again today. Also, I'd just like to thank everybody, all the departments that we've been working with. It's been a joint effort with the City PD, Sheriff's Office, Public Works, Parks and Rec, and everybody's come together to put together pool resources and put together a plan just in the event that we were have to respond to an avalanche here in the insight as to what the conditions are currently up in Jumbo and what that forecast looks like. I'd like to introduce Travis Kraft, and he can come up here and answer any questions about the avalanche conditions.
So first off, what we're going to do is I'm just going to give a synopsis of what happened, and then I'm going to introduce Patrick Black, our Executive Director of the West Central Montana Avalanche Foundation, and kind of give a little idea of what we do besides this. So first off, we've done 3 different trips to Mount Jumbo and to assess the snowpack and the avalanche conditions. Saturday was our last one. And what we found each time that we went up there was we found dangerous avalanche. We saw more snow loading on the mountain that could potentially have posed a hazard, and we were assessing that. The artificial triggers that we're worried about is that's why we have the closures in place. It's really important for people to respect those closures because all 3 times that we were there, we found ski tracks. We're mitigating this hazard is by not putting triggers out onto that slope. So obeying those. We're starting to get these little roller balls, and that's just surface instability, and it is nothing to give any alarm. But what we ask people to do is if they do have some debris that comes into their yards and their backyards, report that to the city so that allows them to have some information and allows us to all work together and communicate. We dug, let me hold the book. Okay. Okay, so we've dug in all our starting zones. And we've also been able to assess here, and we've also assessed over on the East Missoula side. And we found dangerous avalanche conditions in all those places. But with these warmer temperatures, we're starting to see stability slowly increase. And what we're going to do from this point on is continue monitoring and working with all the different departments to give advice on what's currently going on with the snowpack. We've been in contact with the Weather Service, and what we're looking at right now is we're looking at weather that is going to warm just a little bit, but overall not put much more new snow up there or have any rapid warming events. So the main red flags for us at this point would be rain on snow events. If we got rain that went to 5,000 feet into those starting zones up high, and if we got large amounts of snow, so a significant amount of snow, like 8 to 10 inches of more snow with strong east winds. Those would be some signs that we would want to start taking different actions.
Hi, Patrick Black here on behalf of the West Central Montana Avalanche Foundation. We're a nonprofit entity that acts in support of avalanche forecasts and education programs. We exist to help people like Travis go out and assess the snowpack in areas like Jumbo, but also to generate the backcountry forecast that our region relies on. What we do is the sum of a bunch of partnerships from federal, state, in this case a municipal entity, that allows us to piece together the resources we need excuse me, to keep it going and keep the forecast rolling out to the region. Realistically, direct community support has been the impetus behind the way the center became the center you know it today, and it'll be the way that we continue to expand moving forward. I guess, are there any questions regarding?
I have some questions, but I will. I guess my first question is like talking about like current conditions and how you guys are coming up on these mountains, since that we don't necessarily get to see.
It's like we travel on low-angled terrain in order to access the ridge lines and looking for how deep that snowpack is and not getting into those starting zones that are steep enough for it to slide.
And then I guess my next question would be, so when you're up there, you're doing this forecast, how important is it for you guys to kind of rely on, people who are making donations and also just the work that you guys do, and how important is that to make sure people are being safe, I guess, is my question.
So just to reiterate, the question is,
how, in order for you guys to utilize your work, you guys kind of rely on the public.
Funded through a cost share agreement, Missoula Avalanche.
Have you worked with the city before?
Yes. So in 2014, I was involved with Steve Karkinen when he was in my role as director of the Avalanche Center, and we helped evaluate the Jumbo site in 2014.
And do you go up there on a basis, like every year when it gets to be this time of year?
We have a work earlier, so we have that snowpack that stays on the ground, doesn't melt out completely, and then we have a large loading event, so a large snowstorm like we had the blizzard warning and strong east Hellgate winds over a sustained long period of time. As those conditions start happening, we start all talking and figuring out an action plan on if we do need to go evaluate the snowpack or if we do not.
When we look at it from down below, there's a lot of brown up there. Is the wind blowing it off? So are there different?
Okay, so we have different depths. So in the starting zones, you can go from a completely scoured slope here to those full wind-loaded gullies here. And on average in the starting zones, you're looking at between 3.5 to 5 feet deep crowns.
And you look at the mountains on the ground as well, and you look at Sentinel versus Jumbo, and as like just an average resident, you would think why Jumbo is the bigger concern over Sentinel?
So Jumbo is the bigger concern right now. There's definitely some slopes that are steep enough to slide on Sentinel, but the overall slope angles are much less on Sentinel than they are on Jumbo. The other thing that we have with Jumbo is the fact of where it lies in relation to the population center and the access points of those trails that are open during the get in steep enough terrain.
What is the difference, I guess, from that year to right now?
I would say but I think the biggest thing is we were more proactive because of this event from 2014, and we were able to work with all the entities involved and get ahead of the curve and put the closures in place and alert the public and get the message out. The other thing is, if we remember from 2014, the main cause of that was an artificial trigger. It was the snowboarder on the top that triggered the avalanche that did cause the fatality and buried 4 people. So by eliminating those triggers, and respecting those closures, we're being proactive to the cause of 2014. And I believe that we're also on the front end of it, we've had better communication, we've had multiple meetings, we've had multiple assessments. So rather than being reactionary, we're being proactive.
And you said, well, we're entering this weather pattern where it's just kind of tipping out a little bit of freezing and then back down and whatnot. What's it going to take before that danger is decreased enough that you don't have to worry about this anymore? Is it the amount of snow?
It's going to be primarily the amount of snow and melting out. So we're going to take a warming event and get those snow out of those loading zones, and it looking pretty bare. Mm-hmm.
What's the hazards to people who abut Jumbo?
The main thing with people behind Jumbo is you can cause avalanches from the base. So you can trigger an avalanche by walking below in your backyard and it comes in rather than just being above you. So just not recreating port if you have city, excuse me, that gives us in the city more information. That is, I believe, the message that we have been sending, yes.
Can you go into a little bit more depth? How does, what specifically in your backyard, how does that work?
So essentially these slopes right in here, where you're abutted into that steep 30-degree angle, if you think that if you are in your backyard and you're walking, you feel like you're going up a set of stairs, don't do it. Stay on flat ground.
What about loud noises?
No, that's fine.
What about the elk up there? I mean, that's...
The elk did trigger a slide. That was, it's all blending together, but that was the second time we went up there and evaluated that. And that one did not reach the valley floor. Now, the other thing that the elk are doing right now, if you look, you can also see that there's a lot of animal tracks throughout some of those starting zones that didn't trigger anything. That's actually good right now, because what they're actually doing is they're breaking up the slab so that if it is triggered, it'll be a smaller avalanche.
I guess, but as a resident who, maybe doesn't tune into the news and stuff and isn't really up to date with the latest conditions, it's really easy for them to forget that conditions are still dangerous when it's sunny and, kind of nice out. Is that still a worry that you guys are, not able to get your point across when it comes to reminding people that it's dangerous?
I think the biggest thing is just paying attention to the 911 alerts and paying attention to the signs.
So this is only one of 4 places in North America.
Yes. So the other 2 main ones are Sun Valley and Ketchum, Idaho. And the other one is Juneau, Alaska. And I've actually been on the phone with Tom Matisse, who's a director in Juneau, who's also has ties here in Missoula. And I've also talked to Scotty Savage down in Ketchum. Because when we were assessing, when we had the elk triggered slide, Scotty was under an avalanche warning and had a rain on snow event down there that actually had 3 houses that were hit by avalanches.
When we're talking about urban avalanches, I guess, how is that, besides the fact that there's homes along the face of that, how is that different for you as someone who's, is it different in the backcountry and in an urban area where you're kind of, is it different conditions?
It's different conditions because for predictors of these types of events. So the snowpack is just a weather history. So the snowpack on Jumbo, the history there, and from 2014 was we had a small amount of snow, loading event, blizzard conditions, strong east hellgates. When we get those kind of events, that's when we start looking for this to be a problem.
And is 2014 the first kind of moment where you established a relationship with these other areas that have an urban avalanche?
I've known Tom for a long time, so I've known Scotty for a long time, and so we kind of talk about amongst ourselves in this small subset as directors of avalanche centers that have urban problems and how we deal with them differently or how we deal with them similarly.
Will you be going up there any more times if there isn't an additional large snow event, or do you pretty much have a feel for what's up there now?
We have a very good handle on what the conditions are right now, and by monitoring with spotting scopes, we have a very firm grasp of that. And if the weather changes, we'll make a decision on if we feel that we need to go up and evaluate again.
Have you made any recommendations to the city as far as putting wind fences in place, baffles, any kind of?
I think that's a discussion later, and at an after action where we can all sit and reevaluate.
And have you done pits up there, I'm assuming?
Yes, we've done numerous pits.
And what have you seen? What kind of layers are you seeing?
You're seeing wind slab, weak snow, wind slab, rotten snow at the base. Basically, the best way to think about it is you have a lot of strong snow over very, very weak snow.
What's the best scenario weather-wise that you would like?
Gradual warm-up. Just a gradual warm-up, some freezing nights, warm during the day, freezing. That's going to be dictated by weather. I read what we need to do for public safety.
Do you have any idea of historic avalanches in this area prior to House Athena?
So there are some anecdotal, because we actually looked at, Steve Karkinen looked into that several times in stories of this history.
Do you think that if we're getting changing weather, changing climate?
The biggest thing I can say is the nice thing about where with the foothills and Jumbo is we have a really good predictive weather pattern and snowpack that gives us indicators of that we're going to see instabilities. So if we get the same weather pattern, we can probably correlate that to that we're going to have some urban problems, and we'll take precautionary measures as needed.
Besides urban...
Now, we're on, excuse me, on a low danger in our backcountry forecast throughout our advisory area that starts at Lost Trail Pass, and the southern Bitterroots runs to the southern Sealy Swans near Sealy Lake and west of the Superior Ranger District, including the Rattlesnake. We're seeing small wind slabs and small isolated lifts and rock bands and at lower elevations, but overall, pretty stable conditions.
I have some questions.
Yeah. Perfect.
Can you explain what you guys do with the foundation?
As far as
Keeping these people running, I guess?
Sure, you know, we do a variety of things in terms of gathering resources through grant writing, fundraisers, direct ask or direct fundraising within the community itself. That collection of things allows us to support the backcountry forecast and the education programs that change year to year.
And how do you guys raise money for them, like Travis, to go up and do these things?
You know, in this instance, with an MOA through the city, that's kind of a direct agreement with a direct invoicing or kind of input-output as far as those resources go. In general, though, it's a collection of annual resources that fluctuate year to year. You know, direct community.
Travis be able to go up, and I guess how important do you think it is for the public to be able use Travis and then the city also with this contract.
That we could somehow begin to address the public need alongside public safety.
I'm good. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
This one from
Sorry.
you. That's okay. Thank you so much.
Alrighty.
Thank
There you go.
Mid-April. Mid-April.